Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. I'm so glad that you've joined us this morning. We have a lot to cover. Obviously, Greenland. We're going to be talking about ICE and the anti-ICE protests in the church that Don Lemon was a part of. We'll be talking about that. Couple of quick New York State updates. As you know, today, Governor Hochul presents her budget for this year. So we'll be talking about that in depth tomorrow, but taking a look at it perhaps this morning. First, let's go to a viewer comment. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. Thanks for writing in. Mark writes, the media is on ICE like a magnet on steel. I saw a door smashed in and a guy brought out in his underwear and a lot of people being obtained in the front lawns. It's all in coverage to make ICE look bad. Yes, to make ICE look bad. We know yesterday, and I have numerous examples of it, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, kind of hijacked with the anti-ICE message. We'll be talking about that. First, did you see Sean McDermott's heartfelt goodbye as he was fired for the Buffalo Bills yesterday? What a speech. What an amazing, tribute, if you will, for his time as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Nothing but class in his speech. It was a statement. Did I say speech? In a statement, he said, for nearly a decade, I've had the opportunity to wake up every morning as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, which has truly been a gift. I want to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to the Pegula family. I always have trouble with that. The Buffalo Bills organization, and to the fans for allowing me to live out the dream of being a head coach in the NFL in this incredibly special place. I'm proud and humbled to have worked alongside amazing staff and players as we shared life together and poured out our hearts and souls into both winning football games and making a positive impact in our community. This community graciously embraced not only me, but my family, and in some ways helped raise our children over the last 9 years. For that, I say thank you to all of the teachers, coaches, and friends whom we met along the way. The city of good neighbors. We love you. We will miss Buffalo. Bills Mafia, you are one of one. It's been a joy and inspiration to witness your passion and commitment firsthand. I always wanted our teams to play with the same level of toughness and grit that is true to Buffalo and that you demonstrate every day. God gave me and my family an incredible opportunity, one that we will cherish for the rest of our lives. Yet we know that He has a plan. Thank you for allowing me to serve as your head coach. God bless, Sean McDermott. Your thoughts? I know we have a lot of Bills fans. Your thoughts on the firing of Sean McDermott? That happened after yesterday's broadcast. Really a classy going away statement from McDermott. What does this hold for the Bills in the future? It definitely raises some, I've seen a mixed bag, but it definitely raises some concerns about what next year will look like. Speaking of the NFL, I know there's been a lot of complaints, a lot of people sending in messages since it was announced that Bad Bunny will be the halftime performer. Well, now we learn, you could almost say to add insult to injury, a band that is known for hating Trump, before that hating George W. Bush, for very often having kind of their one song is called American Idiot, right? Green Day is going to be the Super Bowl opening ceremony. Green Day frontman Billy Joe Armstrong has spent years attacking Donald Trump, MAGA voters, and Republicans, has called Republicans fascists, and has even changed the lyrics to his tunes to attack the political right and to attack Israel. The league announced Sunday that Green Day will kick off the game during the NFL's celebration of 60 years of Super Bowls. The NFL saying celebrating 60 years of Super Bowl history with Green Day as a hometown band while honoring the NFL legends who've helped define the sport is an incredibly powerful way to kick off Super Bowl 60. As we work alongside NBC Sports for the opening ceremony, we look forward to creating a collective celebration for fans in the stadium and around the world. Billy Joe Armstrong has spent a lot of time attacking Trump and his voters, many of whom are NFL fans. I'm not going to go through each song. He has compared Trump to Adolf Hitler in the run-up to the 2016 presidential election. He chanted during a performance at the American Music Awards. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. There's other language that I cannot repeat. Along with Bad Bunny's halftime performance and Green Day's opening medley, Charlie Puth is set to perform the American National Anthem. Brandi Carlile will sing America the Beautiful, and Coco Jones will deliver what they call the Black National Anthem, which is lift every voice and sing. That's according to Warner Todd Hudson. So again, Green Day added to the Super Bowl. Also in sports, just starting the program with a little bit of sports. Trump was cheered yesterday. Sports fans cheering on the President of the United States at the College Football Playoff National Championship in Miami. Trump waved to the crowd from a suite at Hard Rock Stadium during the singing of the national anthem ahead of the game between Miami and Indiana. It is interesting because the media, boy, if there was booze, the media would be running with it. Everything I've seen has been that he's cheered, so it is being overwhelmingly ignored. The president's daughter, Ivanka, and at least 4 of his grandchildren were spotted in the suite with the commander-in-chief. Kay Trump, the daughter of the president's eldest son, Don Jr., and an incoming University of Miami golfer, wore a cast on her arm and smiled as the camera focused on Trump's booth. The president's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, and former daughter-in-law, and Kay's mom, Vanessa Trump, were also in attendance. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Dan Scavino and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum were among the Trump administration officials seated near the president. UFC boss Dana White visited Trump's suite during the game. The president said in a statement, "Melania and I congratulate the Indiana Hoosiers and the Miami Hurricanes on making it to the College Football Playoff National Championship. God bless the talented players and dedicated coaches, the families who love and support them, and the faithful fans who cheer them on." So the president receiving cheers from the audience as he attended the championship game. We know he's a regular attendee at sporting events, so that should come as no surprise. We have a couple of other either updates or stories that there's really no way to segue to. I see a lot of comments coming in. We'll get to those comments after the next segment. This is interesting. This came across my desk yesterday. Senator Bernie Sanders. He has served on the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum's board for 18 years. Impressive feat, 18 years on the Holocaust Memorial Museum's board. What we also learned, which is an impressive feat to be on a board for 18 years, he has not attended even a single meeting in his 18-year tenure. This has even inspired a bipartisan push to oust him. Some are asking Chuck Schumer to take his place. But Sanders was appointed all the way back in 2007 to the Holocaust Memorial Council, which meets twice a year to oversee the landmark D.C. Museum located about 2 miles from the Capitol. Records supplied to the New York Post show that Sanders, who mainstreamed Democratic socialism with grassroots campaigns for the Democratic presidential nomination in 2016 and 2020, has missed every meeting of the board since his appointment. Robert Garson, president of the American Association of Jewish Lawyers and Jurists, said there are 2 large meetings every year where people fly in from all over the country for it. But Bernie Sanders couldn't be bothered to walk across the road in D.C. 18 is a good number in Judaism, but not in this case, said Jonathan Birkin from the Wall Street Executive, who happens to be another board member. The council, established by an act of Congress back in 1980, includes 55 members presidentially appointed to 5-year terms. Another 10 slots are filled by leaders of the House and Senate, with 5 members coming from each chamber. Garson and Birkin, both appointed by President Trump, are among the dozen signers of a letter asking Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to replace Sanders, citing his non-attendance and repeated claims that Israel has committed genocide in the Gaza Strip. That's Bernie Sanders, his non-attendance, and has said that Israel has committed genocide in Gaza. The letter says, in the current context, with Jew hatred and Holocaust distortion rising globally, it is imperative that Senate-appointed representatives on the council are fully engaged and steadfastly supportive of its mission. They objected to Sanders' quote, public statements regarding contemporary genocidal conflicts and noted he has rarely, if ever, attended council meetings. This is not a partisan issue, just common sense, said Alex Heckler, a longtime Democratic Party activist and fundraiser appointed to the board by President Biden. Sanders' beliefs and public statements do not reflect the stated mission of the museum. Also, he has never attended a meeting in the years I have been on the council. Why take someone's place who will show up? I just don't understand it, said Trump-appointed board member Jimmy Resnick. He doesn't care. It's like a non-existent position. It's unclear why Sanders has not sought to inform the direction of the museum's educational mission. Socialists and communists led armed resistance to Hitler and the Nazis, and socialist Zionists, including Israel's first president David Ben-Gurion, were important to settling and founding the Jewish state. Schumer and Sanders did not immediately respond to a request for comment, nor did Senate Pro Temp Chuck Grassley, who might be able to make the replacement himself. All right, there you go. Just something as we talk about kind of this rise in anti-Semitism. Seems like an important time to attend such meetings, but not for one Bernie Sanders. He's too busy on the private jet trying to fight the oligarchy. Hey, also, yeah, we got 2 or 3, 4 or 5 updates. Then we're going to get into Greenland. Of course, the president saying since he didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize, he no longer has to focus solely on peace. He also released yesterday, late last night, some private messages from various world leaders in regard to Greenland. There's a lot to talk about with the anti-ice protests. To Mark's point, the media is laser-like focused on it. We'll talk about that. And as I said, a couple things here maybe about the Democrat Party, a couple things about New York State issues. I see the comments coming in. Keep them coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Dear Winter, we're coming. Our squad of vehicles, with all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, is ready to take you on. Safety's the name of our game. Bundle up. Toyota.
Right now, you can lease Tacoma for just $259 a month or get 2.99% APR for a full 72 months on a new Tundra. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
Small businesses are the heart of America. Like you, these entrepreneurs started out with a dream and the drive to build a better life. If you have a small business idea to grow or challenge to face, you don't have to go it alone. Since 1964, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses. Today, they are the nation's largest nonprofit source of expert mentoring, resources, and education. Whether you're starting out, building back, or have worked at it for years, SCORE will match you with specialized mentors. Our thousands of volunteers provide the guidance and connections you need for free. Your success is waiting. SCORE is ready to help. Find a mentor today at SCORE.org.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. A lot of great comments coming in. We were talking, thank you for the good morning, by the way, with the frozen faces, because it is chilly out there. As you see, currently 5 degrees in Bath. Driving in, I think my car said it was 9 degrees. Let's go to some viewer comments. I will not be watching the halftime show. My team's out. I probably won't watch it all for that matter. There is, however, an alternative halftime show that I will be watching. Is that the Turning Point USA? Last I knew they were still holding that. I haven't heard anything more. I actually have an update now that I say that from Erica Kirk. We'll get to that in just a second. Comment from a different viewer. The Bills got ripped off. Extremely poor refereeing. Yes, that last play. That's why it's so sad that McDermott was ousted as head coach, because that really came down to, in my opinion, poor refereeing as well, though you can always make the argument that the play here or play there, they wouldn't have had to depend on the referee, but come on. This viewer continues, if the NFL keeps up with employing anti-Americans, I will get my football fix watching high school and college games. Thank you very much. It is discouraging, especially, all right, there was a lot of pushback over Bad Bunny. Not overly familiar with Bad Bunny's music, but understand why people were kind of pushing back. And then to add Green Day, who has, going back to George W. Bush, that obviously clearly anti-Republican and very many instances anti kind of American message that they push. Definitely no fans of Trump or MAGA. So why always skid into this? I really don't understand that. Roger Goodell and the NFL, I don't understand why they skid into it. I just don't. Ken writes in, I listened to Mike Johnson's address to the Parliament this morning. There was nothing earth-shattering about his speech, but I did get enlightened on a quote from Abraham Lincoln that the Dems took to heart and Republicans must have ignored. It perfectly summarizes the reasoning behind the Democrats' push to liberalize K through 12 and college students in their efforts to solidify a majority in state and federal politics. Abraham Lincoln's quote says, quote, the philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next. That is a great quote. Thanks for sending that along, Ken. We're going to be talking about that quickly because, to your point, it wasn't really necessarily an earth-shattering speech, but we're going to be talking about that in just a second. But that's exactly why we talk about, some would argue maybe too much. I don't agree with that. But we talk about the propaganda, the indoctrination of these school kids, whether it's, like you said, K through 12 or in college, why we see these anti-Semitic protests, why we see this radicalization on college campuses. And we said this back when woke culture first started taking off, back when I was in the radio. It's easy to laugh at it, but remember, especially like if you look at the Biden administration, they start hiring and changing their policies in government to kind of coddle the woke student's mind. Fresh out of college, they have their kind of list of demands, as they do during a protest, of how things need to be changed so they wouldn't be offended, the safe space idea. And unfortunately, government, and that's what Pete Hegseth is trying to weed out, happened in the military. And it started to trickle into the real world. People would always say, well, these woke kids, wait till they get to the real world. Well, unfortunately, the real world started to change for them, and it ran amok. So thank you for that, Ken. Just because I had mentioned Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's widow, she is demanding a speedy trial, alleging that it's an undue delay from Tyler Robinson's defense, the accused assassin of her husband. In a court filing made public over the weekend, her attorney, Jeffrey Neiman, notified the court that she is invoking her rights to a speedy trial as a victim under Utah law. Quote, the Utah Code affords victims of a crime the right to a speedy disposition of the charges, free from unwarranted delay caused by or at the behest of the defendant. The court is tasked with the critically important function of ensuring the defendant has a fair trial, but this court must also do so while balancing Mrs. Kirk's right to a speedy trial, and therefore the notice invokes Mrs. Kirk's rights under applicable Utah Code. Wanting a speedier trial, of course, Robinson is accused of shooting Charlie Kirk at the Turning Point USA event at Utah Valley University back in September. While prosecutors said Friday they'd completed about 90% of the discovery process, Robinson has not entered a plea yet or faced a preliminary hearing, a crucial early step in Utah's legal process where prosecutors have to convince the judge they have probable cause to bring charges. Even so, the filing may be premature. I don't really think this applies, but it's a very good strategic move to put the judge on notice that everyone is watching. So there you are. Yesterday, we brought you the story that there is a lawsuit against Representative Eric Swalwell, who is running for governor of California. Many people believe he is the favorite somehow. Following his career, I don't understand it, but that's where we're at. It is California, just like I'm sure other states look at us and say, why would you keep putting Hochul in there? Eric Swalwell is forcefully pushing back against the lawsuit, claiming he can't run for governor because he doesn't actually live in California. He called it nonsense and politically motivated. In a statement exclusive to the New York Post, his campaign's general consultant said Swalwell has always maintained a California residence. Security concerns tied to repeated death threats against Swalwell explain why a campaign office address was listed on legal filings, according to campaign consultant Kate Mader. She called the practice legal and common in California politics. Joe Gilbert filed the lawsuit, and he claims Swalwell actually lives in Washington, D.C., and therefore fails to meet California's 5-year residency requirement to run for governor. Gilbert alleged Swalwell owns no California property and pointed to a campaign filing listing a Sacramento office address rather than a personal residence, arguing the congressman should be disqualified from the ballot. Swalwell's team dismissed the case as a stunt, noting the claim comes from a MAGA blogger who has previously promoted fringe theories. So you see how they try to discredit, not on the substance, but discredit the individual. They noted that the congressman holds a California driver's license and pays California taxes. Quote, since joining Congress, Eric Swalwell has always maintained a residence in the Bay Area. He has continuously held a California driver's license, paid California taxes, and kept deep roots here. All right, anyway, enough on that. Oh, one other thing as we near the midterms, and then we're going to talk about this Board of Peace, then we're going to talk about Greenland, all of that. But exciting news coming out of the New York Times. Elon Musk, the world's richest person, backed Nate Morris, a Republican businessman, in the primary race to succeed Senator Mitch McConnell in Kentucky, donating $10 million. We've all speculated, will he be donating, because there was that rift for a while that kind of split up, but they've since had dinner, him and Trump, and obviously Elon Musk could play a very big role in the midterms with the amount of money he has. The donation was described by a person briefed on the transaction who insisted on anonymity to discuss the exchange. It is said that Musk may be looking to play an influential role in the midterm election. The money went to a group supporting Nate Morrison, who was locked in one of this year's most competitive Republican primary races for Senate. Until now, Mr. Morris, a founder of a waste and recycling company, had been largely self-funding his campaign against Representative Andy Barr of Kentucky and Daniel Cameron, a former state attorney general. The donation is Mr. Musk's largest disclosed contribution of the 2026 midterm cycle, and it is notable because of his turbulent last year in Republican politics. But there's been speculation that he would get involved, and it looks as if he will. Time will tell. We also know that Mr. Morris, who received the donation, is a friend of Vice President J.D. Vance's, is harshly critical of the Republican Party's old establishment wing, which Mitch McConnell helped lead. Morris and Musk spoke recently about the candidate's opposition to McConnell, the person briefed on the donation said. So there you go. All right, when we come back, your thoughts on Greenland, your thoughts on, and I know the media is running with the idea that asking or inviting Putin to join his Board of Peace is playing right into Putin's hands, the same as this kind of attack, if you will, on NATO. Your thoughts on that? We're not going to talk too much. As a matter of fact, why don't we just talk about this real quick and then we'll get on to Greenland. But President Trump confirmed that Russian President Vladimir Putin received an invitation to join his new Board of Peace that will supervise the next phase of the Gaza peace plan. Trump confirmed the invitation while speaking to reporters at the championship game, the same championship game that we talked about earlier, where he received huge applause from the audience. Yeah, he's been invited, Trump told reporters. The Kremlin said earlier on Monday that Putin had received the invitation, adding that it is now studying the details and will seek clarity of all the nuances in communications with the U.S. government. France has also received an invitation but does not plan to join the Board of Peace at this stage. We'll get to a little bit more on the French officials in a moment. Asked at the championship game about Macron being unlikely to join the Board of Peace, Trump took jabs at his French counterpart and threatened tariffs for refusing to accept the invitation, saying, well, nobody wants him because he's going to be out of office very soon. I'll put a 200% tariff on his wines and champagnes and he'll join, but he doesn't have to join. Several other countries also received invitations, including Israel, Canada, Belarus, Slovenia, and Thailand. Morocco, Vietnam, Kazakhstan, Hungary, and Argentina have already accepted the invitations. All right, when we come back, Greenland. We are going to talk about the anti-ice protests. We've got a lot to cover this morning. No sense killing any more time telling you what we're going to talk about, because we'll just talk about it when we return. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
State is putting nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lee Com Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
An app can turn your life upside down in an instant. Pain, medical bills, time off work, it's overwhelming. And when you look to the insurance company for help, they don't see you. They don't see your family or what you've lost. To them, you're just a number, just dollars on a spreadsheet. Their job is to pay you as little as possible. At WYDC Injury Law, we see the person behind the claim. We fight for your recovery, your future, and your peace of mind. If you've been hurt in New York, call 607-500-HURT.
A real journey since 2014 when I first had my injury. I realized that my home was just not working for me and that it was time to ask for help. Homes for Our Troops is really giving me my life back. The shower allows me to go in and turn around with my chair, pull down storage racks, automated door systems, hours of my morning given back to me. Adaptive sports are a huge part of my life, a huge part of my healing journey as well. Homes for Our Troops helped with making sure that I had a home gym so that I can continue to train. This past year, I was able to host Thanksgiving in my home. And it was the first time I was able to have my whole family in one place and I was able to contribute to the meal. There are a lot more veterans in need, and Homes for Our Troops is going to be there to help them too.
Homes for Our Troops builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans and enables them to rebuild their lives. Join our mission at HFOTUSA.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Comment from Ken. Interestingly, you said the crowd cheered Trump at the Hard Rock Stadium. My wife showed me a clip of Trump at the same event on TikTok. But in this, I assume doctored video, the crowd was loudly booing him. I assume it's just another blatant attempt to propagandize the sheeple into believing that the general public hates Trump. Well, that's what's so tricky. That's why I was kind of amazed that I saw an article that said he was cheered, because that kind of ambiance noise in the background is so easy to manipulate, and maybe not even intentionally. Depending on where the audio, where the recording is taking place, if that section has a few people that are booing, or if it's someone who wants to be nefarious, it's easy to add booing to an audio soundtrack. So yes, it's so easily manipulated. I was just surprised that some of the more far left outlets that I check in the morning, no one had said that he was loudly booed. I just went for the, I would have brought that up. Instead, the one article I read about it that even mentioned that he was at the game said that he was cheered. So that is very easily manipulated. And I do think they're trying to push a message that everybody hates Trump, his policies, ICE. Though I do have a piece from someone that is far left. Hopefully we'll get a chance to mention it. But the idea is basically like the left's call for defund the police that cost them so many elections in the past. That's what they're doing, paying themselves into a corner with the anti-ICE, defund ICE. Kind of interesting. So Trump links his push for Greenland to not winning the Nobel Peace Prize. He feels that he's no longer obligated to, quote, think purely of peace, and that the U.S. needed the island for global security. Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America. He also questioned Denmark's claim to Greenland, saying there are no written documents. The world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. Thank you. So he no longer needs to think purely of peace following that loss. Is this the whole? Well, let's go to it. Dear Jonas, Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America. Denmark cannot protect the land, Greenland, from Russia or China. And why do they have a right of ownership anyway? There are no written documents. It's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats landing there also, Trump said. I have done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now NATO should do something for the United States. The world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. Thank you, President DJT, Donald J. Trump. His message came one day after he threatened additional 10% tariffs on Denmark, Norway, Finland, Sweden, France, the Netherlands, Germany, and the UK, unless Copenhagen agreed to the complete and total purchase of Greenland. Now, Store, S-T-O-R-E, confirmed the letter, saying, Norway's position on Greenland is clear. Greenland is a part of the Kingdom of Denmark, and Norway fully supports the Kingdom of Denmark on this matter. We also support that NATO, in a responsible way, is taking steps to strengthen security and stability in the Arctic. Then, sending a message to the President. Dear Mr. President, dear Donald, on the contact across the Atlantic on Greenland, Gaza, Ukraine, and your tariff announcement yesterday, you know our position on these issues, but we believe we should work to take this down and de-escalate. So much is happening around us where we need to stand together. We are proposing a call with you later today with both of us or separately. Give us a hint at what you prefer best. Alex and Jonas. In a separate post on Truth Social, shortly before his note to Store was reported, Trump said NATO has been telling Denmark for 20 years that you have to get the Russian threat away from Greenland. Unfortunately, Denmark has been unable to do anything about it. Now it is time, and it will be done. Now, Denmark has ramped up its defenses in Greenland. I know President Trump's new line is, they have 2 dog sleds. But local Danish broadcaster TV2 said the Danish armed forces confirmed a new contingent of troops described as a substantial contribution were arriving at Greenland's main international airport yesterday night. The new military move comes in the wake of the comments made by Trump over the region's strategic and military importance. Now, the media is running with this just like they are with ICE, hoping that this will be some type of rallying cry for the midterms, that people will say that Trump is a disaster internationally, nationally as well. Now, on the first anniversary of his second inauguration, that is today. Today is the first anniversary of his second inauguration. President Trump has reiterated his desire to take control of Greenland. He posted a screenshot of a text message from French President Emmanuel Macron saying that he and Trump are aligned on issues including Syria and Iran, but not on Greenland. Of course, we mentioned he doesn't care about the Nobel Prize, saying it was controlled by Norway. Trump repeats his confidence yesterday, saying, I don't think European leaders are going to push back too much. We have to have it. He also told the leaders, don't even go there. Now, the note from Trump shared a screenshot, a private screenshot of a conversation he was having with Macron. The screenshot saying, from President Macron to President Trump, my friend, we are totally in line on Syria. We can do great things on Iran. I do not understand what you are doing on Greenland. Let us try to build a great thing. One, I could set up a G7 meeting after Davos in Paris on Thursday afternoon. I can invite the Ukrainians, the Danish, the Syrians, and the Russians in the margins. Let us have a dinner together in Paris together on Thursday before you go back to the U.S. So I don't understand what you are doing on Greenland. I guess he exposed private messages to other world leaders as well. I don't see them here, though. In another post, Trump slammed the UK's move to transfer control or something. Anyway. So as Ken had mentioned earlier in the broadcast, House Speaker Johnson told the British Parliament he hopes to calm the waters between the U.S. and the UK. Addressing Parliament during a visit to mark the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, Speaker Johnson said that he has told President Trump, quote, that I felt that my mission here today was to encourage our friends and help to calm the waters, so to speak. He called for the two countries to look to agreement, continue our dialogue, and find a resolution, just as we always have in the past. He said he was confident that the U.S. and UK can and will maintain the special relationship between them. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer delivered a speech in which he reiterated his opposition to Trump's bid to seize control of Greenland. Johnson said he had told Starmer that he thought the speech was well done. Now, you see some of the radical... Oh, we got to take a break. Wait till I tell you what some on the left had to say, and that's going to happen as well. Some of the comments from the left, one just in general about President Trump right now, they are going great guns in trying to attack the president, thinking that this is going to be a winning strategy for November as we near the midterms. So your thoughts on this? Where do you hear some of these quotes and some of these opinion pieces? And then we're going to move on to anti-ICE protests. But boy, this show's moving quickly. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tubs and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Some call for more than a drink. They call for a scotch. Rich, patient, crafted over time. Every bottle tells a story.
Yeah, I'll take it. Bit drafty in here.
Foster's. Elevate your spirits.
Did you know that children growing up with poor air quality have smaller lungs and higher rates of asthma than children that grow up with good air quality? And unfortunately, poor communities have poor air quality. IQ Air Foundation is working to change this. Today, the IQ Air Foundation provides filtration technology to schools with poor air quality through our Clean Air for Kids program. Our goal is to help over 50,000 school children every year breathe over 90% cleaner air indoors, helping to level the playing field, reduce barriers to learning, reduce sick days, and increase test scores. Mitigating poor air quality is key to environmental justice. Help Clean Air for Kids reach more children at IQAirFoundation.org.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Before we read some of these, I guess you'd say, negative statements from those in the media about Greenland, let's go to viewer comments, the only ones that matter. Sanders on the Holocaust board would be like me on a DNC board if they had one. It's outrageous. He also gets paid, no doubt. I'm not sure if he gets paid. I was thinking the same thing because a lot of these boards, there is a lot of money thrown around. I don't know in that instance. But yes, not the best person to be on the board, considering he has not attended a meeting in 18 years. Comment from a different viewer. Speaking of the midterms, I heard James Carville say the Democrats are going to clean up. But wasn't he the guy who predicted Hillary would win? Yes, and he had a very full-throated prediction that Kamala Harris was going to win. An op-ed right towards the election. James Carville's kind of an interesting character when we talk about current politics because they love to quote him with, "It's the economy, stupid," which is so overplayed and so cliche. But that was during his time working for the Clintons. But since then, he's become kind of the old guard. Not just because of his age, but people look at him as not being somehow, this you're going to find this shocking, not radical enough. We saw numerous pieces where the kind of far left Democrat Socialists of America were attacking him because he was saying that the Democrat Party, and I'm paraphrasing here, but had become kind of the elders in Footloose. They become too, they're not letting, especially young male voters, they're not showing a party that is fun or welcoming to them. So that's when the far left turned on him. He still has a podcast. He still does a lot of interviews. But yes, to make a long story short, or maybe a short story long, he is definitely the one that predicted Hillary would win, but he really predicted Kamala Harris was going to win. So yes, I wouldn't take his predictions. Kind of like I would say he's the Democrat version. Well, I shouldn't say that because Bill Kristol reminds me of the Democrat version of Bill Kristol. But Bill Kristol, who claims to be a Republican, he got all his predictions wrong, especially back in 2016. Still has saying that Trump would be out before Iowa, saying Trump wouldn't make it to Christmas, et cetera, et cetera. And yet they still feel this confidence to keep making predictions. So yes, I would take that with a huge grain of salt, but thank you. Jack writes in, this is really interesting. So Jack is having his second hip surgery. And he says, it will be fun to test my frankly focus, pun intended. He's going to be watching Frankly Speaking, almost right up to his operation tomorrow for his hip replacement. God willing, I should be out before noon. Check back here for news on how I'm doing. I will absolutely do that, Jack. I predict that someday hip surgery will be done in an even less invasive way. Hard to believe I'll be walking around the same day. They even do the operations on 90-year-olds. It's really impressive when you see the technology on that. But thank you for your dedication. I will try to up my game and have the best possible show, at least until you go in at 7. Then we'll throttle it back. But I do appreciate it, Jack. All right, talking about Greenland. Representative Gregory Meeks, Democrat from New York, said that President Trump's push to take Greenland, quote, threatens our national security. From the very top of the government of Denmark to the average everyday person on the street in Denmark, they do not understand why Donald Trump is doing this. They are and have been our strongest ally. And they said that they have agreed to and will work with America and our NATO allies for anything that is necessary for our national security. There is no question about that. If the United States continues to push, if Donald Trump continues to push to take Greenland, which they were clear is not for sale, so he says he wants to buy it. It's not for sale. If he wants to continue to do that, and they don't want anything to do with the United States of America, if you look at you're talking about national security, what he is doing now threatens our national security because in his world of which we live in, we utilize our allies. And the best allies we have are our European allies to help us with information and with intelligence and working collectively together. And what he is doing is threatening that kind of unity, which will make America less safe. So what he's doing now is not going to make America safer. It's going to make it less safe. It's going to put us in jeopardy. Now, I know the Daily Beast is a far left news outlet, or far left outlet. I wouldn't say news. They have an opinion piece by Jana Brancalini saying Trump's appalling threat leaves no doubt. It's time for the 25th Amendment. Now, keep in mind, this is from a party that actually tried to attack you if you question the mental health of President Biden. But now they get to set the rules, and never mind what happened during the Biden years. Now, you as Republicans have to turn on President Trump, and they demand the use of the 25th Amendment. Donald Trump has sent a diplomatic communique so shocking that it bears reading in full without preamble. Now, I already read it, so we don't have to do that again. But even by Trump's standards, this letter is so delusional and dangerous that there's no longer any question that the president is, quote, unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, end quote, is laid out in the 25th Amendment to the Constitution. Now, we read that piece, that communique that the president sent. When you heard it, were your first thoughts that he is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office? Setting aside the president's deeply confused understanding of the history between Denmark and Greenland, Denmark is not protecting Greenland from Russia and China. All 32 members of NATO are. I'm not going to go through all of this because he's destroying NATO. And these are not the mental calculations of a sane person. They're a fever dream that even Russian President Vladimir Putin and China's Xi Jinping never would have dared to imagine coming true until now. They're also extreme even by the standards of a president and an administration that seems to constantly plumb new lows without ever reaching the bottom. We don't have to go through all this. Drudge Report shares these. I'm not sure, but then again, here, look at me. I'm sharing it as we go. But they're saying now, because remember, we have predicted, and it's the easiest prediction in the world, that if Democrats win in the midterms, take over the majority, there will be nonstop impeachments for 2 years. But now we learn that is not enough. Saying, quote, this is directly from the Daily Beast piece, this is why impeachment is not enough. At this point, it's become almost cliche to point out how many of the president's actions would be impeachable offenses if anyone else were president, or if congressional Republicans weren't such cowards. Again, you know my thoughts on that. I think that's a very weak argument. That those that can't make the argument will always say that it's Republicans that are scared of Trump. The Republicans can't be in support of Trump because people like this that write this op-ed, they hate Trump so much that no one could be in support of Trump. They live in a bubble where all their friends voted for Kamala Harris. So there's no one in the country, because this is a very egotistical article, there's no one in the country that voted for Trump. So the only reason that Republicans would back him, not because they support his policies, but because they're scared of him and that they're cowards. It's such a weak argument. It's one that they've tried to make from the beginning. We've heard people try to make it on the air before here, sending in comments. And it's an argument that's not done in good faith. It's coming from an already biased perspective. Coming from a group that hates Trump and no one they know likes Trump. This piece is all about them. It's about their bubble, their echo chamber. Thinking that now impeachment isn't enough, the 25th Amendment needs to be used, and here's everything that's so bad about Trump in generalities and really name-calling type language. Removal under the 25th Amendment might not be politically likely, but it's a constitutional tool that must be seriously discussed. Well, then why don't you seriously discuss it instead of what is really just a hit piece, a name-calling? But to do otherwise would be to indulge the dangerous alternative reality that Trump and his supporters are so desperate to construct. And the Atlantic, well, we'll talk about that when we come back, and then we'll wrap up this discussion and move on to anti-ICE protests. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Getting ready to wrap up. Well, we got two breaks coming, so we got a little bit of time left in this hour. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
An albino baby buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bus.
Day one of the National Glider Competition.
What matters most is that our customers, our communities, and our heroes are taken care of. We start by providing American-made gasoline, which means you can buy local, keeping America and your communities strong. We also support vital charities every year and hold Operation Give Thanks each November to help provide a better future for our veterans and their families. We're proud to support the communities we live and work in, and we're doing our best every day to make our towns a better place. Quick though, driving America.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Did you know we waste as much as 40% of all the food we produce globally? Did you also know that each year, millions of acres of wildlife habitat are plowed over, and billions of gallons of water is guzzled up to produce that food? And your wallet is taking a hit too. Americans toss out more than $382 billion worth of food per year. That's a lot of waste. But did you know that there are simple things you can do to help? And spread the word that food should never be trash. Visit us at wwf.earth.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments. I don't know what it means, but I can't wait for the Democrats to eat crow after the midterm. Yes, kind of have to embarrass themselves, essentially, because they're so wrong. There's still those amazing videos going back to 2016 of all the pundits and talking heads and actors like George Clooney so overly confident that that Trump wasn't going to be president. Those are still fun to watch. And so, to your point, I think it'll be fun for the Democrats to eat crow, but the media as well. I know they're one and the same, but the media who have ran with this, just like they're shocked that Trump won this time at Kamala Harris, they're shocked if he can pull well, they say upset. I don't know if it's an upset or not, but pull out a win in the midterms. All right, Ken writes in, I think there will be some kind of agreement between the U.S., Greenland, and Denmark that will be beneficial to all. Trump's negotiating tactics have always been start at a position that is extremely beneficial to his side, push that idea hard, showing no sign that you will relent, then settle for something lesser that makes the other side believe that they were the victor, but actually they agreed to something much more beneficial to Trump's side than they originally wanted to. That's a very good point, Ken. The art of the deal, as it is called. You're exactly right. One other thing, two other things on this, three other things on this, four other things. Well, we're almost done with it. The Atlantic. Remember The Atlantic, where for whatever reason, Susie Wiles gave that in-depth interview to. They did that hit piece even down to having the horrible photographers and those nasty pictures with the close-ups and showing unflattering images of the Trump administration. Why that administration wants to talk to the Atlantic so much blows my mind. I just don't understand it. Because listen to this. Trump's letter to Norway should be the last straw, according to Ann Applebaum at the Atlantic. And she did the same thing as the one from the Daily Beast, which it's so crazy. Let me just show you the whole note itself. One could observe many things about this document. One is the childish grammar, including the strange capitalizations. Another is a loose grasp of history. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Yet what matters isn't the specific phrases, but the overall message. Donald Trump now genuinely lives in a different reality, one in which neither grammar nor history nor the normal rules of human interaction now affect him. Also, he really is maniacally unhealthy, obsessive about the Nobel Prize. The Norwegian Nobel Committee, not the Norwegian government, and certainly not the Danish government, determines the winner of that prize. Yet Trump now not only blames Norway for failing to give it to him, but is using it as a justification for the invasion of Greenland. Thinking about where this is leading, one possibility anticipated this morning by financial markets is a damaging trade war. We're not going to go through all this. The people around Trump could find ways to stop him, as some did in his first term. Oh, that's right. Yeah, they want people behind the scenes that don't support the MAGA agenda, don't support Trump's agenda, to be a monkey wrench in the whole system. They want a nameless, faceless bureaucrat to actually be the decision maker at the White House. They loved that back in 2016 because that did happen in numerous instances. So they want that return. That's why they hated the idea of these loyalty tests. But they seem too corrupt or too power hungry to try. That leaves Republicans in Congress as the last barrier. They owe it to the American people and the world to stop Trump from acting out his fantasy in Greenland and doing permanent damage to American interests. You know what's interesting about this? To Ken's point, if he does change kind of the rules, if you will, in the negotiation and give Norway and Greenland a little back and forth, then they'll go back. The same media that's saying that he's unhinged and should be taken out of office will also be the ones that say, see, he always caves. Trump always caves. This is so predictable. And this idea, again, the weak argument that we've been talking about where they say, oh, no, it's cowardly Republicans. Years of careful diplomacy, billions of dollars in trade are now at risk because senators and representatives who know better have refused to use the powers they have to block him. Now is the time. So the sky is falling. To Mark's point at the very beginning, this is what they've been looking for to attack the president. One they think they have a winning message on. I would disagree. First calls for a boycott of the World Cup over Trump's Greenland threats. Okay. So now they're talking about, some countries are talking about boycotting the World Cup this summer after Trump announced new tariffs on the UK. The top Catholic clerics, I'm running late. We'll talk about that when we return. Then we'll wrap up this discussion and start hour number 2 on a new note. So stay with us.
New York State is putting nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. LeCom Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
The best ski resort?
Ask Google. The best snow removal service? Ask Google.
The best Jeep dealer?
Ask Google. We did Google reviews from customers rank Ferrario Jeep in Elmira the highest Jeep dealer in our area.
If you don't see me, I can't save you any money.
Check out the new Jeeps during the Start Something New sales event.
Visit Ferrario in Elmira or at Ferrario.com.
What's our stories? The warmth of our laugh? Or our family's secret sauce? We all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/team up.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back wrapping up hour number 1. Comment from a viewer: my opinion is that Trump's blustering about Greenland is just another example of his negotiation tactics that will lead to the security guarantees and American presence that will secure it from exploitation by China. China declared itself a near-Arctic state and a seat at the table for exploitation of Arctic resources. We cannot let that happen. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer: Frank, I'm confused. Are the Socialist Democrats and the Democrats the same party? That's a philosophical question. Yeah, so the Democrat Socialists of America is a different party than the Democrat Party, but they kind of run in tandem. If you look at Mamdani, he was on both lines. It's kind of like, the way I understand it, it's kind of like the Working Family Party or the conservative line on the ballot, where a Republican will run under both Republican and conservative. The Democrat Socialists of America, though, right now are becoming very, very popular after Mamdani's win. And a lot of people are concerned, especially in Albany, that the various assembly members and state senators who are concerned about a primary challenge by a Democrat Socialist of America will cave to them, go far left. So it is kind of one and the same, right? It'll be a primary challenge or it'll be a third-party challenge, depending. But Mamdani ran as both a Democrat and a Democrat Socialist of America. I hope that didn't make it more confusing. I don't think it did. It's kind of a separate line on the ballot. One last thing about foreign policy: the 3 highest-ranking Roman Catholic clerics who lead archdioceses in the United States said in a strongly worded statement yesterday that America's, quote, moral role in confronting evil around the world is in question for the first time in decades. Their critique of the Trump administration's principles, while not mentioning Trump by name, escalates the American Catholic Church's denunciation of the country's top leaders. Citing recent events in Venezuela, Ukraine, and Greenland, 3 cardinals said their statement was inspired by Pope Leo. Confused, what would it be about Venezuela that wouldn't be a force of good, a moral role in the world? And Ukraine, we've worked with them. Greenland, you can argue about the language Trump used, but what are we? I don't understand this. Citing recent events in Venezuela, Ukraine, and Greenland as having raised fundamental questions about the use of military force, the Cardinals call for a, quote, genuinely moral foreign policy in which military action must be seen only as a last resort in extreme situations, not a normal instrument of national policy. The Cardinals did not delve into policy details and declined to offer specifics about the countries mentioned in the statement. Yeah, that'd be nice to know what it is about Venezuela that the Catholic clerics are so, I guess, outraged about. Your thoughts on that? I know we have a big Catholic community that watches this program, but we got to wrap up this hour of Frankly Speaking. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. We still have a good question. This viewer writes in, Frank, how much further to the left in the New York Assembly and Senate go? Be careful. I know what you're saying, but yes, farther left. You remember when we laughed about the limit of 700 or the max of 750 cows proposed on farms by Manhattan Assembly and Senate? We laugh at those. Those are the kind of things that could go through if they decide to go even farther left. They'll be supportive of the things like universal child care, and the one thing Governor Hochul hasn't taken up yet. Yes, I'm running late. Taken up yet, but the even stronger, being a stronger sanctuary state. So it can definitely go further. But we got to wrap up this hour. Stay with us. Hour number 2, moments away.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
State nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lecom Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
A child is fighting a critical illness, one truth touches us all. Every child deserves a childhood. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. And when we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Become a wish maker today and be part of a journey that truly
And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, looking at all these comments coming in. Quite a few, just to kind of paraphrase and put a few of them together, that there's a concern that the Catholic Church has got very political in the past, some pointing to even some kind of communist leanings. A few people talking about just the politicalization of the church. That's in reference to the top Catholic clerics denouncing U.S. foreign policy. Your thoughts? I know we have a big Catholic community that watches this program. We do appreciate that. Comment from a different viewer. No, I got it and understood what you explained. Oh, thank you. Oh, good. That was in reference to the Democrat Socialists of America. I do appreciate that. And that's one of the reasons why we're concerned that Albany will get farther left than the one person saying, yeah, if they ban a certain amount of cows. I think the number was 750, wasn't it? You couldn't have more than 750 cows, or there was some type of punishment or something on farmers. Yes, I don't think that would go over well, to your point. I don't think that would go over well in upstate New York. But I'm just saying that some of the more far left policies will be pushed through, especially when you talk about quote unquote affordability. Remember, their affordability plan is to spend taxpayers' money and buy votes. Okay, so that you'll see a lot more of that. We even see it already with Governor Hochul pushing that universal child care, which of course it's not that. It's kind of a test right out the gate with, I think, not even that many young children, but I think they're 2-year-olds, something like that. So yes, I do think you're going to see those certain assembly members and senators going farther left because they're scared of the Democrat Socialists of America. Ken writes in, a fun fact that has no bearing on anything. There are about twice as many Somalians in Minnesota, about 100,000, than there are Greenlanders in Greenland, about 50,000. Oh, that is interesting, Ken. I don't know if it has no bearing on anything, but that's an interesting fact. Both very hot topics in today's news world. Okay. One last thing about Greenland. The New York Post editorial board is asking the question, what's behind the Trump-Greenland crisis and beyond it? How can it end productively? And it goes through kind of the history of NATO, and I don't want to go through all that. Don't forget how readily the Europeans and President Barack Obama acquiesced to Vladimir Putin's first invasion of Ukraine, seizing Crimea and other territories in the east in 2014. Again, the Germans laughed at Trump 4 years after that. And no matter that, Denmark's claim to Greenland rests on their colonialist exploits of Eric the Red a millennium ago. None of this makes Trump's talk of invasion and imposition of tariffs wise. It's plainly gotten many Europeans' backs up, furious at the reminders of how impotent they've chosen to become. Left-wing elected leaders, meanwhile, see how their Canadian comrades jiu-jitsu'd public resentment of Trumpian bombast to win yet another election last year, despite the decade-long stagnation produced by Justin Trudeau. Most of their media already routinely paint him as a fascist buffoon day in and day out. His apocalyptic seeming talk on Greenland plays right into that lazy narrative, which helps secure the elite's continued power. Yet the fact remains, nothing is more suicidal for Europe now than to allow ever more investment and economic control from China, which will happily turn the continent into a de facto part of China by playing to its elite's self-regarding delusions until it's too late. What's needed now is for Washington and Europe to cut some deal, for example, recognition of U.S. predominance in Greenland in exchange for extension of the Golden Dome defense system to cover all EU territory, or perhaps a share in the mining profits over 50 years. Let the Europeans save face and strengthen the alliance while securing Greenland, in other words. It needn't center on Golden Dome or mining, of course. The point is that leaders of allied nations should be putting their own country's best interests first and finding a win-win compromise, not posturing for some trivial short-term win that means long-term victory for the enemies of freedom. All right, there we go. Now, when it talks about ICE, I had a couple pieces yesterday during Martin Luther King Day. If you missed it, you may have had a day off, slept in. But kind of the hijacking of Dr. King's message to use it against ICE, or using a day that's supposed to be kind of about community, a day of action. They used it to, again, hijack the message and make it about ICE. In Brooklyn, hundreds marched across the Brooklyn Bridge demanding the end to ICE and the rise of tyranny in America. In Minneapolis, listen to this. A group of software engineers, this is in Minneapolis, were showered with insults and accused of being pedophiles after they were mistakenly accused of being U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents while trying to eat their lunch in Minneapolis. Yes, a group of software engineers were mistaken for ICE agents. I'm not sure why they were. Okay, they were insulted. This is all a fair tactic now, I guess, on the left. They entered that church over the weekend. Protesting in church, which now is okay. Governor Hochul hates it. I know that wasn't in New York, but Governor Hochul hates it and trying to sign a law, but not in this case. We'll tell you about what Keith Ellison had to say as well. Hochul didn't weigh in on it, but I just think it's interesting that only pick and choose when a protest is allowed in church. But in this case, some software engineers just doing their job. They're going out for lunch. They were insulted, and for some reason, I don't understand this line, accused of being pedophiles. The men, all white males dressed casually in sweatshirts and jackets, were eating lunch at Clancy's Deli when one of them got an alert on an anti-ICE signal chat telling members that plainclothes agents were at a restaurant. The person who got the message on the SW Minneapolis Rapid Response chat is aligned politically with the anti-ICE cause. So yes, one of these software engineers is one of the anti-ICE protesters that had turned on him. The irony in that. My friend was shocked. He's on the anti-ICE side politically. He lives nearby. He's eaten there before, and suddenly he's seeing messages saying, "We're ICE." After the alert was shared, dozens of anti-ICE agitators flocked to the restaurant and peered into the window. Once the group left, they were met on the street with derision from the crowd. I can't use the language and what they were calling them. Get out of our blanking neighborhood idea. Next thing we know, people are yelling, "I hope you die," and calling us pedophiles. What is that? I don't understand that. One of the men tried to explain that they were software engineers trying to have a meal. "We do custom apps for a whole bunch of companies around Minnesota and the country," he said. Still, the crowd appeared unconvinced. This is why things are getting scary, folks, and that's why the left has to stop fanning the flames on this. We've talked about it with the politicians, the mayor. We've talked about it with, of course, Governor Tim Walz. After they fan the flames, then they come back and say, okay, let's take a breather. Don't get violent. But the damage is already done. And now the media and those in elected office on the Democrat side are continuing to push people, whether it's now we're seeing doxing of agents, we're seeing attacks on agents, that one agent essentially begging the protesters to stop, saying you are protecting a pedophile. We're going to arrest a pedophile and you just alerted them that, or a sex offender or something, that you alerted them that we were here. Why are you protecting them? But in this instance, just happens to be a couple of guys grabbing lunch, from their job as software engineers, being attacked, being screamed at, whistles in the background. One of the software engineers yelled to the people yelling at him, saying, "This is what's wrong with your guys' cause." So a woman asked, "Would you support us?" The person said, "The way you guys are acting, no. I don't support ICE either. I'm just trying to enjoy my lunch." And then you think about the people also at that restaurant. So you're not even one of the people being mistaken for ICE. You're at the restaurant just having a nice meal, and they're shouting, they're screaming, horrible language being used. I don't think it helps the cause, and we've got that maybe a little bit later on. Now, you probably have heard by now the anti-ICE protesters that interrupted the church service. I don't know if we got a chance to talk about it yesterday, if we ran out of time. President Trump did weigh in on it, saying, "Just watch footage of the church raid in Minnesota by the agitators and insurrectionists. These people are professionals. No person acts the way they act. They are highly trained to scream, rant, and rave like lunatics in a certain manner, just like they are doing." This was on Truth Social early this morning. "They are troublemakers who should be thrown in jail or thrown out of the country." The remark comes as the Justice Department investigates the church protest and considers potential charges under the FACE Act. The FACE Act is a federal law that, quote, prohibits the use or threat of force and physical obstruction that injures, intimidates, or interferes with a person seeking to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship. It is going to be very interesting. And where do you see the left twisting themselves up into a pretzel over this, trying to say, no, this was justified. No, this is their First Amendment rights. And I guess they have no problem with a can of worms that they're opening, where now protests will take place in churches and houses of worship. Why? Because it's a cause that they support. Why? Because they want the media's coverage of this to be a stain on ICE, I guess, and a stain on the Trump administration. Wow, look at all these comments coming in. But the fanning of the flames in this, and President Trump is right, they're agitators, professional agitators. Christian leaders are condemning the anti-ICE agitators who stormed the church in the Twin Cities. Leaders demanded action from the government after protests were filmed shouting at city's church congregants in St. Paul. And guess who was a part of that? Yes, former CNN host Don Lemon, who doubled down on being involved in it. He was originally going to just film it, he said, and that he was just there to cover it. And now he had some despicable things to say about the church. These are just people in a house of worship trying to participate in their Sunday service. And now we are being told by some very powerful politicians that this is all okay. Imagine this can of worms. The National Faith Advisory Board highlighted a response by Pastor Paul Chappell, as well as Paula Michelle White, who serves as senior advisor to the White House Faith Office. Quote, "We condemn the actions of Don Lemon and the group of activists who stormed City's church today in St. Paul, Minnesota, in clear violation of the FACE Act. Christians everywhere should demand that the Department of Justice arrest those who participated. We must protect religious liberty in this country." Chappell called on the Department of Justice to launch an investigation into the incident and apprehend those who broke the law. "We must protect religious liberty in this country," said Chappell. Albert Mohler, president of the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, condemned the incident as unspeakably evil, saying, "I normally do not post to social media on the Lord's Day, but the unspeakably evil intrusion of a leftist mob into a Christian worship service today in Minneapolis must be called out for what it is. And federal authorities should be fast and effective in response. May God bless this steadfast pastor, this faithful gospel church, and the members who were traumatized, including children and youth. This was nothing less than a desecration of Christian worship." Pastor Steve Gentry of Village Church in Virginia said, "What a despicable act meant to terrorize and stoke fear in Christians. This is what the left is. They hate order and want to destroy the nation." Attorney General Pam Bondi, in a statement, said, "I just spoke to the pastor in Minnesota whose church was targeted. Attacks against law enforcement and the intimidation of Christians are being met with the full force of federal law. If state leaders refuse to act responsibly to prevent lawlessness, this Department of Justice will remain mobilized to prosecute federal crimes and ensure that the rule of law prevails." Now, we'll tell you what Keith Ellison had to say when we return. He's Minnesota's Attorney General. Do you think Keith Ellison is going to say, yeah, this does violate the FACE Act, or yeah, these people have to be held to justice, have to be brought to justice? Do you think he'll say that? Keith Ellison, do you think, making your predictions right now, do you think that he will say, yeah, this was wrong what they did? Or do you think because it's a cause that he may support that it's all okay? We'll tell you when we return. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
At McGuire, we know buying a car is a big decision, so we made it a little easier. With our pre-owned 30-day exchange policy, if you don't love your car, truck, or SUV, return it within 30 days or 1,000 miles. Not liking the color, model, payment, whatever the reason, we'll give you the full value toward another car at McGuire, no questions asked. That's car buying with no regrets. McGuire, right by you.
Having a safe home is essential to many aspects of our lives. From a sense of community and safety, to physical and mental health, to economic security and independence. Most homes in our communities are not accessible and are not designed to accommodate the changes that come with age, including the risk of falling. The Older Adults Home Modification Program helps reduce the risk of falls, improves safety, and increases accessibility and independence. Through this program, Rebuilding Together works with older adults to provide no-cost preventative home repairs so our neighbors can safely age in place in the homes and communities they love. To learn more, visit rebuildingtogether.org/safeathome.
You make everything harder.
You're a pest.
Nobody wants you, nobody likes you.
You are just full of raising questions and never having an answer.
If I can face MS, I can face anything.
A cure for me would be to go back to where I was.
A cure would stop you dead in your tracks.
And when we get you, it's going to be a great day.
It ends here.
MS ends with us.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Oh my goodness, we have so many comments coming in. I think this whole segment is going to be just comments, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Okay, let's get right to them. We've got probably a couple minutes worth of them. All right, first comment. There still is a movement out there to divide New York, and I think it needs to take off. Still remain a state, but 3 autonomous zones. We can't keep having governors win 7 out of 62 counties and then rule the state. I'm not sure that Hochul won, but a couple of times that's what Cuomo won. Yeah, I know there's been talks about it for as long as I've been in media about splitting them. I'm sure well before that, splitting up the state. And I know the 3 autonomous zones became a major push probably right around maybe before COVID, perhaps. I've not heard any. I know they're still out there. I just haven't heard as much about dividing New York State as we used to, because it is such an uphill battle. Comment from a different viewer, Don Lemon. Is desperate to stay relevant. I understand the KKK Act could be appropriate. Yeah, the FACE Act isn't, and we're going to talk about what that means in a second. Why wasn't he celebrating a real positive message on Martin Luther King Day and what Martin Luther King Day is about instead of bullying people? Shameful. I agree. We're going to talk about Don Lemon in a moment. Comment from a different viewer. My thoughts on protesters turning on the church that always turn on the hand that feeds them. Many of these churches have provided safe passage, food, and shelter. They are not innocent victims. Comment from Mark. He writes in, the left won't stop fanning the flames until they start a civil war. That is what they are hoping for, I believe. Thank you. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. The protesters attacking the church were lucky they weren't open fired upon. Remember the church shootings? Anyone coming into a public place yelling should be worried. Well, you raise a good point, Jack, because a lot of these churches, especially synagogues, but a lot of churches started having armed security because there were so many attacks. So having a group coming, screaming and shouting and trying to intimidate them, hence why the one person that released a statement, one pastor released a statement talking about the parishioners being traumatized. And that could be the case. I mean, imagine that instant fear where you think there could be, God forbid, a church shooting. So you raise a good point, Jack. But I think a lot of these protesters don't think things through. Their main goal is to get the most likes, to get the most attention by the media, to get the most social media shares. That's really what it's all about at the end of the day. They're not thinking through the danger they're putting themselves in and others in. Comment from a different viewer. America needs to get back to viewing religion as being right, and to reject the evil chaos that is becoming more and more prevalent within the Democratic Party. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. As a Catholic, I have been trained to be cynical about the church's bishops and popes, urging the United States to take the moral high ground on some key issues, such as immigration policy and our aggressive moves in Venezuela. It is easy to be moral when it supports your business model. Much of the U.S. Cardinals' money comes from government grants for illegal immigration services. Likewise, much of the Catholic Church's aid organization, Caritas Venezuela, funding has come in. I think that might be a typo. Aid organizations. Venezuela funding has come in the past from USAID. Okay, gotcha. I might have butchered that a little bit. I apologize. Trump's policies have indeed been a net negative to the church's cash flow, just following the money. Thank you very much for that statement. Ken writes in, the left will never stick up for the rights of the church. Absolutely. They have been trying to get people to shy away from the Christian religion for years. The Democrats want people to rely on government for assistance, not the church. What a great point you raise. Remember when you could not go to religious services during COVID, but it was okay to gather en masse to protest during the George Floyd protests? So yes, they have. That was one of the first knee-jerk things they wanted to close during COVID was the church. Oh my goodness. Look at all these waves and all these comments come in. Your long weekend and you're back at it. There we go. Divide New York has a group on Facebook, but I can't follow because I got thrown off of Facebook. Well, there you go. For threatening the Iranian Navy about 15 years ago? Okay. Well, that's one way, I guess, to get booted off Facebook. Okay. I know there is. I'm not saying there isn't a group. It doesn't seem to be getting as much traction as in the past. Not because people aren't interested in it. It's just such an uphill battle. I know, to use the one person's term, jaded, you got pessimistic. It's almost like the governor's race, where as a Republican you say, "Oh, this may happen. We might finally get the Republican in there and governor, then we don't." It's the same kind of thing where there seems to be a little bit of traction, then it falls off every time there's talking about dividing New York. So I think a lot of people that do support it are still a little bit in the background going, "Is this ultimately a lost cause?" And maybe it isn't. I'm just saying I think that may be why there isn't quite as much excitement. So as I said, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, do you believe that he thinks these people should be charged? Well, he is rejecting assertions that the anti-ICE protesters who stormed a church in his state over the weekend broke the federal law the Justice Department has cited as having potentially been violated. Top DOJ officials say they are looking into whether the agitators who disrupted services violated the FACE Act and the Ku Klux Klan Act. The FACE Act makes it a federal crime with potentially steep fines and jail time to use or threaten to use force to injure, intimidate, or interfere with a person seeking reproductive health services or with a person lawfully trying to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship. It also prohibits intentional property damage to a facility providing reproductive health services or a place of religious worship. The Ku Klux Klan Act makes it a federal crime for individuals to deny citizens their civil rights. Appearing on ex-CNN host Don Lemon's YouTube show, Ellison insisted the FACE Act only pertains to reproductive rights. Even though I just read you the exact quote, talking about a place of religious worship. Isn't that convenient for Ellison? Saying, and the FACE Act, by the way, is designated to protect the rights of people seeking reproductive rights, so that people for a religious reason cannot just use religion to break into women's reproductive health centers. How they're stretching either of these laws to apply to people who protested in a church over the behavior of a religious leader is beyond me. That's beyond you. Okay, it's good to see that you as Attorney General are not doing this from a completely biased political standpoint, that it's about justice. Unbelievable. Now, we know Lemon's been, we'll talk about him in a moment. Who was here? Harmeet Dillon, the Justice Department's Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, said a house of worship is not a public forum for your protest. It is a space protected from exactly such acts by federal criminal and civil laws. Nor does the First Amendment protect your pseudo-journalism of disrupting a prayer service. You are on notice. Now, Lemon's loving this attention. He posted, or he sent a statement to Fox saying, it's notable that I've been cast as the face of a protest I was covering as a journalist, especially since I wasn't the only reporter there. That framing is telling. What is even more telling is a barrage of violent threats, along with homophobic and racist slurs directed at me online by MAGA supporters and amplified by parts of the right-wing press. If this much time and energy is going to be spent manufacturing outrage, it would be better used investigating the tragic death of Renee Nicole Good, the very issue that brought people into the streets in the first place. I stand by my reporting. He's loving getting this attention back to him, like that one person said earlier in the broadcast. So Ellison saying church protest is free speech. Oh, and also it's Trump's fault. Oh, and also I don't know what happened. That's Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison on CNN. Well, we live in the age wherein people like Jerome Powell are under investigation. Tish James, James Comey, Senator Mark Kelly, Senator Slocum. The list goes on and on. Under the DOJ, wrongdoing has nothing to do with whether they're going to focus on or investigate you. So I wish in a normal time I would say no. I'd say this is First Amendment activity. In a time like this, it's just really difficult to say because only one thing is clear. If Trump likes you, you can do no wrong. If he doesn't, he's going to use every weapon he can against you, including our criminal justice system. So as we see that complete bias by Ellison saying that this is free speech, protected free speech at this protest, showing that if it's okay, if he likes the cause, it's okay. He kind of gaslights you into believing that's Trump's attitude. This situation is 100% because of Operation Metro Surge. This escalation, unjustified, irrational, unconstitutional, is why this is happening. I urge all people to obey the law, to try to do everything they can to not be provoked. But the reality is he's trying to provoke us, and I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. I can only tell you that the president is causing all of this. Oh my goodness, am I running that late? My goodness, we got a lot more to talk about with this. Keep those comments coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
In the heart of nature, collisions happen when you least expect them. Deer hits can turn a tranquil drive into a chaotic moment. When the unexpected happens, turn to Scott's Collision. At Scott's Collision, we understand the frustration of unexpected encounters with wildlife. From dents to more extensive damage, we've got you covered. When nature and your vehicle collide, trust Scott's Collision to bring it back to life.
Nearly 5 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and Horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
After an accident, people told me I needed to slow down. I told them, I don't know how. I'm not only doing the things I used to do, I'm experiencing things I've only dreamed of. I have my freedom back. For the first time in a while, I can see all the colors in my life. So while some days might be harder than others, I know a place I can go where I can feel strong and supported.
Because with the help of my VA care team, I'm reaching new heights.
Take your healthcare career to new heights. Learn more at vacareers.va.gov.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio, Market Street in Corning. Comments from viewers. Good morning, Frank. Good morning. Spread the word. It's touch your tongue to the flagpole day in protest of ICE. It's also double dog dare day to protest Trump. Thank you very much. Do not do that, folks. We've all seen A Christmas Story. Do not do that. But I appreciate the message behind the comment. Comment from a different viewer. Mark here watching the, quote, other side, LOL. Well, thanks for the wave. I don't know. Does that mean politically? What does that mean? So cryptic. Thank you, Mark. I do appreciate that. Different Mark then writes in throughout the broadcast. So we got two Marks sending in commentary. I appreciate it. Keep the comments, keep the waves coming in. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey weighed in on the St. Paul Church protest. He called it unsettling, but also wanted to make sure that you know that there'd be peace and order in Minneapolis if ICE left. It's unsettling. I don't know as much about it simply because it didn't happen in Minneapolis. I like this. That's what everybody says now. I didn't know. I don't know exactly what happened. Ellison's saying the same. Granted, being in a church is a place that is sacred. Here's what I would say. Certainly, this is not the route that I would have taken individually to protest in a church. I don't know enough of the circumstances behind it, again, so I don't want to comment on something that I'm not aware of. We do not need more armed troops. We do not need more of an invasion or an occupation or whatever you want to call it. If the goal here is peace and order, then there's a very easy antidote to achieve it, which is for ICE and the troops and anyone else to leave. He concluded that when protesters haven't been peaceful, there have been consequences. People have been arrested, and we don't tolerate it. Representative Pramila Jayapal said protesters have been peaceful. It's ICE that's inflaming tensions. Flaming tensions, excuse me. Well, I haven't reviewed the entire video for that. Wow, everybody's just admitting they know nothing about it but still need to comment on it. But I would just say that the vast majority of protesters, like 99.9%, have been engaging in peaceful protests. And a court decision on Friday reaffirmed that and actually said that it's the tactics of ICE agents and CBP agents that are a problem here. They are violating constitutional protections. You do have the right to peacefully say that you disagree, to follow ICE agents and record what they are doing at a safe distance. And the reality is it's been ICE and CBP that have been really inflaming tensions and making people less safe rather than more safe. The agency itself of ICE, which never existed prior to 2001, as you remember. The Department of Homeland Security was created in the wake of 9/11. I don't know. Why am I reading any more of that? I'm going to try this. Representative Adelita Grijalva, a Democrat from Arizona, said, I think that when they find out that there's someone that's supposed to be speaking for the community in church is found out to be an ICE, like a federal agent that is running ICE in their communities, they have the right to go in there. Churches have always been an open door. And from my understanding in the videos that I saw, those protesters were not violent in any way. So the church has an open door, so you should be able to protest at any point. Ellen DeGeneres, why is it so many people feel the need to weigh in on this? I understand the politicians. I get it. Ellen DeGeneres, who kind of ended her career on a bad note, went off into the sunset with a bad reputation of being very nasty to work for, just some very, basically a lot of celebrities turned on her. She felt the need to get on social media and make sure the world knew how she felt about Minneapolis protests. I just want to say I'm so sorry for what is happening in Minneapolis and our country, really, but specifically Minneapolis right now. I shot it there because they say it's the happiest city in America, and I found that to be true. So my thoughts and my prayers are going out to everyone. And I'm proud of everyone who's protesting peacefully, and I'm sorry for anyone who's been hurt just for protesting, for doing what you should be doing. Now, this received backlash, with critics slamming DeGeneres for weighing in after she seemingly left the U.S. following Trump's re-election. You really think anyone cares what you think now? Dream on, said one user. Not your country anymore, another commented. You don't get to have a say anymore. And they are not protesting, they are rioting. I'm so sorry, too. Why do those people stay home and let ICE do their job we as a country voted for? Why these people feel... And listen, the radicals that stormed the church have no remorse. Come and get me, Pam Bondi, said the loudest Democrat radicals who invaded the church on Sunday. Blank those blanking Nazis. Come and get me, Pam Bondi, you blanking traitorous blank. What an eloquent statement by William Kelly, a DC-based street protester. I wonder if that's what it says on his business card, a DC-based street protester. So come get me, Pam Bondi. Now, we're going to talk about Don Lemon when we return. Keep those... We're having a great conversation this morning. I appreciate... I'm sorry if I missed anybody's comments or if some didn't fit in with what we were discussing. Try to get to everybody's, but that doesn't always become the case just because of the time constraints here. I do appreciate it. Keep them coming in. Love to hear from you. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. What break are we on? There we go.
Dear All-Wheel Drive, let's show the road what we've got. Snowy streets? We're coming for you. Icy grip? We're holding tight. Wintry mix? Safety's the name of our game. Toyota All-Wheel Drive sedans. Right now, lease the all-hybrid 2026 Camry with all-wheel drive for just $269 a month. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
You can just keep watching and scrolling, and the world will still feel like it's falling apart.
Widespread missile attacks. Highest hospitalization. Evacuation in the Western forced labor.
Or you can take action by joining a movement that's creating a real and lasting change instead. Partnering with communities around the globe to help uproot poverty and plant seeds of hope for a brighter tomorrow. Because at World Vision, we believe that no situation is hopeless. Join a movement that's changing the world for good.
There have always been a few ready to fight and win. Since 1775, these few have been Marines, and they come from across this land to defend the future of our nation. This year, our Corps celebrates 250 years, and Marines are proud to serve this country, each other, and all that is still to come for America.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A couple comments from viewers. The statement by Keith Ellison about the church protest shows the extreme depths of the mental health crisis within the Democrat Party. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Isn't it the job of local police to arrest criminals? That's a good point. I know that in some states, like here in New York, the local police can't participate with ICE because of the sanctuary city and the sanctuary state standard, the law that we put in New York. If that's what you're referring to, I don't think that the local police aren't going after immigration, but they're not participating in some of this because of, again, the lack of cooperation between local police and ICE in certain states. Comment from a different viewer. Regarding the splitting up of New York State, let's get it done. Yeah, fair enough. It'd be great. If I would love to see it move forward. It's a tough uphill battle because remember the same reason we complain about one-party rule in Albany. That one-party rule would be keeping that from reaching fruition. That's the problem with one-party rule. That's why we have been kind of doom and gloom about the governor's race because we thought we had a chance, and maybe we still do, but some things need to change if we're going to turn the ship around in New York. All right, Don Lemon is doubling down after he was caught red-handed conspiring with anti-ICE radicals who raided a church in St. Paul, casting blame on the parishioners who he labeled, this is Don Lemon. So he goes in, as far as I know, there's been no arrests or anything. They go in, they disrupt this church service, they protest during worship service. And what does he do? Just like he said that he's the one suffering, because Don Lemon has to make it all about himself. That was his whole career. That's one of the reasons why he got fired. That and horrible ratings at CNN. It's me, me, me. Well, in this instance, he decided to blame the parishioners who were just trying to worship in peace, saying that they are entitled, and he accused them of white supremacy. This is Don Lemon. I think people who are in religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice. Well, it's all about you, isn't it, Don? What kind of Christianity do you practice? Tell us more about your faith. He doesn't. I think people who are in religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think they're entitled. Not him. Don Lemon and these protesters aren't entitled. It's the people that were minding their own business trying to worship in church on Sunday. And that entitlement comes from white supremacy. They think the country was built for them, that it's a Christian country. Okay, so imagine this. You had a hard day, a hard week at work. You've got Sunday, you're going to take your family to worship, to kind of decompress after a week at the office or out in the field, wherever you are. And this is an important time for you to spend time worshiping with other Christians. And so now, because of you saying, I wish that my church service wasn't disrupted by agitators, by radical protesters. I wish that I wasn't instantly full of fear and being intimidated because I didn't know what was happening. I wish it didn't traumatize my children and my wife or whoever is with them, grandparents. Because I wish that didn't happen, Don Lemon has now labeled those parishioners entitled and white supremacists, essentially, saying that they have white supremacy views. That's where their entitlement comes from. Again, minding their own business at a church service. And now you have been labeled by Don Lemon as essentially a white supremacist? Now, I know this is Don Lemon's career. He wants to be the center of attention. He's loving this attention that he's receiving right now. That's why he's taken it a step further by calling those members of that church white, that they have white supremacist beliefs. Now, he's dismissed this idea that Lemon could be caught up in an investigation over all this. And we read that quote for you earlier on. But even Nicki Minaj, remember Nicki Minaj speaking? I never thought I'd talk about her as much on this program as I have, but when she spoke at that Turning Point USA forum, I can't read exactly what she said on her tweet. Trust me. But she said of Don Lemon, we'll say Don blanking Lemon, is disgusting. How dare you? I want that thug in jail. He would never do that to any other religion. Lock him up. She has a good point on that. They wouldn't protest anywhere but a Christian church. Now, Kristen Fleming said, congratulations, Don Lemon. You've managed to hit a new low, and your tired excuses are delusional. He did something miraculous, Don Lemon. He managed to prove he is even more despicable than we previously thought. What a feat. The former CNN anchor live streamed himself joining a band of lunatic anti-ICE protesters who stormed the city's church in St. Paul, Minnesota, after reports that a pastor there might be affiliated with ICE, though there's been no confirmation to such a connection. And I find that really suspicious that no connection has been made, or it seems like Don Lemon and the media world would run with it. I just find that very curious and something to keep in mind. Lemon, who is no longer affiliated with a news outlet, enthusiastically embedded with the group that barged into the house of God, shattering the peace and security of a Sunday service, and exhibited behavior befitting a psychiatric ward at Bellevue. They started screaming ICE out and chanting Renee Good's name. Naturally, concerned, traumatized, scared congregants filed out, and some tried to plead with screaming protesters. In a heartbreaking scene, a young boy cried as he was confronted by his parents. The footage is disgusting. It was not a peaceful protest. It was thuggery and intimidation in a house of worship. As a backlash rightfully mounted online, Lemon claimed in a follow-up video that he was not affiliated with the group and merely a journalist on the scene of a news event. and whined that he's being criticized because he's black and gay. So he went back to that. He is the victim in all of this. Despite his claim, he had filmed the offending group gearing up for their shameless Sunday ambush, explaining that they quote, surprise people, catching them off guard and hold them to account. That crying kid better learn, is what Don Lemon essentially said. These are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull-Up. Then, like a good impartial chronicler would do, he planted a creepy kiss on the cheek of head agitator Nakima Levy Armstrong. Quote, this is what the First Amendment was about, the freedom to protest. I'm sure people here don't like it, but protests are not comfortable, said Lemon. Boy, isn't that interesting? The protests aren't meant to be comfortable until it's a pro-conservative protest, like we saw with the Tea Party. Then that whole line of it's that comfortable, that's a cliche line that they try to use. But of course, he's now attempting to distance himself from the debacle. But Lemon wasn't merely a narrator. He conducted contentious interviews with parishioners and the pastor, essentially trying to convince them of the gang's righteousness and their collective guilt. And he mentioned that he was a Christian more than once. It'd be like a person knowing of a stick-up, happily following along, and then interviewing the robbery victim, cutting them off to explain why they deserved it. In one video, Lemon said that if he were the pastor, he would offer to pray with the group. But the deranged trespassers were only there to pray, P-R-E-Y. They weren't there to pray, only P-R-E-A-Y. During the height of 2020's BLM Summer of Love, roving bands of activists swarmed cities, disrupting people's brunches and demanding everybody cave to the Marxist cause. If they raised a fist, they were able to return to their Eggs Benedict. If not, no justice, no peace, and certainly no bacon grease. The terrorizing had nothing to do with racial justice. It was a humiliation tactic and a power grab that did not change hearts and minds. It only disgusted decent people. What happened on Sunday was a gross escalation of those already abhorrent methods. None of those radicals actually care about Renee Good. They're using her name to further advance their chaos agenda. Reasonable folks can disagree on policy, but it's dangerous and dumb to interrupt federal law enforcement, and it's reprehensible and illegal to storm a church and disrupt religious liberty. We know that Lemon wouldn't have the guts, we'll say, to invade a mosque. And now again, he ended up blaming entitlement and white supremacy. He claimed to be befuddled as to how he became the face of these marauding protesters. But Lemon is obviously nestled in the bosom of delusion, as he relayed the explanation his producer offered him. Being a gay and black man in America has been very good to Don Lemon. So much so that despite being an absolute, I can't use the term that they say, and bully of female coworkers, he managed to make millions on cable news. Those millions have allowed him to live in great comfort and far away from the unwashed masses. He reportedly resides in a Manhattan doorman high-rise and has a beautiful house in the Hamptons. Lemon will never feel the heat of being physically confronted in his safe haven, and sadly, he will never feel shame either. We got to take a break. Running just a little bit late, getting ready to wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Stay with us. We will be right back.
An albino baby buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bus.
Day one of the National Glider Competition.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Sophia A., grade 4, absent, because transportation was absent.
Julio M., grade 6, absent, because Wi-Fi was absent.
Maria J., grade 12, absent, because childcare for siblings was absent.
Jacob O., grade 12, absent, because housing was absent.
Aisha S.,
Olivia H.
Darren L.,
Cole W.
Preston L., absent.
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 Because healthcare, anti-bullying,
Mental health support was absent.
We're calling roll on the 15 million absent students.
Their reasons why are very real.
And yet the solution is a present, caring adult to help them along their path.
When Communities in Schools is present, 99% of our students are present and ready to learn.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio on Market Street recording. Rick, we'll get to your quote here in a little bit. It was a little too long. I have to go through. I haven't had a chance. But Mark writes in, defunding the police, in my opinion, led to these gangs and thugs. So let's let ICE do their job because the police hands are tied. Thank you, Mark. Comment from a different viewer. What do you expect from Don Lemon after watching New Year's Eve coverage where he's hammered year after year? No, not anymore. He doesn't work for CNN. But yes, he did in the past. Comment from a different viewer. By the way, you didn't need to wear a tie. Why not? I wear a tie every day. Why is that? Comment from a different viewer. Lemon and others like him are exactly what's wrong with American society and ideology. Glenn Reynolds says, kind of echoing what we've been saying this morning, Democrats are playing with fire, but it's a whole country that's likely to get burned. For a democratic republic to function, you need certain key elements. First, elections must be generally regarded as honest. Second, candidates and their supporters have to abide by the results of those elections when they occur. Third, the winners of elections must not behave in a way that makes losing the contest a matter of life and death or lifetime imprisonment. Democrats are undermining or just outright wrecking all three. And this goes in where they're trying to scare people into believing there's not going to be a midterm, and that's what ICE agents on the ground all about. They're also fanning the flames of this type of violence, and we know Trump has talked about the Insurrection Act. If Democrats keep up this thuggery, Republicans will be all but forced to respond in their own defense, and any action they may take could destabilize the nation even further. The last time such a breach happened in the U.S. was in 1860. That resulted in a civil war that killed hundreds of thousands of Americans and devastated much of the nation. It needs to stop, or the consequences might be much worse this time around. That's Glenn Harlan Reynolds. How are we doing? Keep those last second comments coming in because we got to take a break already. Actress Frances Fisher is leading a left-wing ensemble cast calling for mass walkouts in protest of President Donald Trump and walk-ins to congressional office to demand the president's impeachment. I'm mad. Oh my gosh. What a cliche. I don't like to cuss on this program, but what a cliche thing. I'm mad as heck and I'm not going to take it anymore. Good. Real original. It's past time. On January 20th, the one-year anniversary of this illegal administration, we are demanding that it come to an end. In partnership with the Women's March, Free America, Walkout, we will then walk in to local congressional offices, peacefully demand impeachment for the first nationwide remove the regime. All right. We'll keep an eye on that. We got to take our last break. Keep those comments coming in because we're going to wrap up today's edition after this.
It's time to start something new. Nothing stops Ram, and it's back, returning to the NASCAR Truck Series. With a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, these trucks are built to go the distance. Can you say Hemi? Let's go! Save over $11,236 on the 2026 Ram 1500 Bighorn. Save over $8,576 on the 2026 Ram Power Wagon. Huge savings on all 40 available 2025 Grand Cherokees and 2026 Wranglers. The Start Something New sales event at Chilson Wilcox, happening now. Ram, let's go!
It's great to catch up, Jamie. How's business?
Good. Are you up to speed with the new beneficial ownership reporting requirements?
Sort of. What's it about?
It's a new initiative to help fight crimes like money laundering, fraud, and drug trafficking. A lot of small businesses like ours just have to report some basic info to the federal government about the real people behind them.
Does that include my cafe?
There are some exemptions for certain companies, but don't worry. There's lots of guidance on the government's website about who needs to file. Check out fincen.gov/BOI. Filing is easy and free. It took me less than 20 minutes.
Looks like I do have to file. Thanks, Jamie. It's great having a supportive business community.
Reporting beneficial ownership information helps protect U.S. national security. Filing is quick, secure, and free. And it's the law. Learn more at fincen.gov/BOI.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are wrapping up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Boy, we've had a lot of comments coming in this morning. I do appreciate it. Rick writes in, good morning, Frank. Good morning, Rick. I had to cut some of this, Rick, because it's long and I'm out of time. Old Trump is still crying that he hasn't gotten a Nobel Peace Prize for stopping 8+ wars. He's mad at Norway for that, and the truth comes out. That's why he wants Greenland. Well, for starters, he never stopped 8+ wars and never will stop them. Given that the fact that the world thinks he's an idiot and a selfish fool, he will never win the prize. He wouldn't have won the prize anyway, Rick. Let's be honest with our conversation. It has nothing to do. It's about the Republican behind his name. He took Mikado's prize, so get over it. As far as Greenland goes, I love that the European Union is putting their heads and resources against Trump. Trump is a selfish person who is used to throwing his weight around, threatening people, suing people. He is a very loose wheel. It's all about the minerals, not about U.S. security. Also, we can't afford the United States, so this would cost too much, I guess. And like I said a couple of weeks ago, countries will join forces against the U.S. Way to go, Trump. Let's destroy NATO. Why would Trump invite Putin to be on his board of peace for Gaza and scare Putin will attack Greenland? He has totally lost his mind. He needs to be committed into one of the asylums he talks about all the time. And by the way, I can't wait for the next Democrat president in 2029 to come in and paint over top of all of Trump's gold trim in the White House. Hey, who knows? Maybe the next president will knock down the ballroom and rebuild the East Wing and Rose Garden. That'd be a high need and not a want on my list. So it's good to see, and 3 years to go, Rick says, it's good to see that is going to be a litmus test. As predicted on this program, it's good that Rick verified that. A litmus test for presidential candidates. Eric Swalwell said the same thing, which is going to be that for absolutely no reason but pure pettiness. The destruction of the ballroom that Trump is building, a ballroom that has been needed, and past presidents, both Democrat and Republican, have said the same. But now that Trump's name's on it, it's good to know that you put your priorities where they are when it comes to the president. Now, we don't have time to go through all this. James Clyburn, though, to my point earlier, he is scaring the people and saying that there will not be free and fair elections in November. I'm absolutely worried about that. As you know, at least I used to teach history and I used to tell my students all the time, anything that's happening before can happen again. When the phone call was made by me, 11,700 or 11,740 votes, when we saw those people rapping on those windows up in Michigan, trying to separate sets of electors. Anyway, we're not going to go through all this, but he's worried. He's absolutely worried we won't have free and fair elections. That does it. Oh, the CNN has a piece, Inside Democrats' Dilemma over how to battle Trump in a fight to control Congress, which seems like they may be a little concerned. There's a piece, The Bankruptcy of the Democrats' Elvis Presley Approach to Immigration. What does that mean? It's Don't Be Cruel is a massive hit, but is no kind of policy, and that's what they're talking about with immigration. We mentioned that earlier. Don't forget, Kathy Hochul releasing her budget proposal today. So prepare yourself for that. That does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you for all the comments. There may be a record amount of comments. My goodness. Nearly the whole broadcast. I do appreciate it. And make sure you join us every weekday morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning bright and early. I look forward to it already. Have a great day, everyone.